few there, and the British Hospitality Association similarly giving some pretty dire warnings as to what would happen in coffee shops and in, hospitality facilities and hotels or sporting occasions, but of course support coming in from other quarters, in particular Migration Watch, who say the government's immigration proposals are very good news. Over time, this could reduce EU net migration by 100,000 people a year. What do I think about this? I can scarcely believe it. We are having a debate about what our policy should be on immigration. Because up until today, for the last goodness knows how many years, we've not been able to have this debate. So we're having this debate, and it's clear that someone, somewhere, inside Number 10 and government, have said to themselves, do you know what? I think those 17.4 million voters might have been sending us a message, might actually have been giving us an instruction. They're telling us they want numbers lower. Here are some policy proposals, ideas as to how we could reduce the numbers. So, look, I've, been pretty critical over the last few weeks of a government that goes for transition periods and accepts we might go on paying money for the next few years. But I do think that the fact this is even being debated is a good thing. Whether it actually would ever have made it through, and how they would enforce the idea that somebody who comes for 2 years on a work permit, how they would enforce the removal or voluntary withdrawal of that person, these are all questions to be answered. So I wonder how you feel about this. Do you think that actually, by beginning to talk about this, the government are now trying to honour the Brexit deal that the country told them to? And if you agree with that, please call me on 03456060973. You may take the view of the National Farmers Union and others that unless we have a complete open door, and unless we ignore the referendum result, that actually our country's economy will simply collapse, in which case text to 84850, or maybe you think immigration is being talked about really rather too much. I doubt we'll get many of these, but you could tweet using the hashtag Farage and LBC at LBC and watch me live on Facebook. And let's see where we go this evening and whether we have the level, the volume of passion that we saw last night. Phil from Tiverton is my first caller. Good evening. Do you think this policy document shows that at least somewhere in Number 10 they're trying to put the referendum into policy?
Hello, Nigel. Thank you for having me online.
Not at all.
Basically, I just want to step back a little bit. I moved to the Tiverton area, which last year,
yep.
And it was right prior to the Brexit vote coming in. I actually went and I was lodging with somebody who idolises yourself and completely, was, engrossed in the UKIP platform, which was to get out of the EU.
Yeah.
What I discovered after living with the person in their space for 1 month was exactly how racist they were, how they blamed all immigrants for the job problem in this country, for the lack of work, for the benefit cheaters, for the housing crisis. I had 1 month of having to listen to all this. She was on a complete bandwagon, and she idolised you. There was to be no talk in the house while you were speaking on the TV.
Well, there are all sorts of people out there, Phil, with unusual hang-ups, I know. Let's just sort of look at some of that, shall we? So, housing. So, Phil, do you think there is a link between a housing shortage and high house prices and very long waits for social housing and immigration? Do you think there's a link, Phil?
No, I think there's a link between what you started running, and I think you were very successful to get out of the EU, but you set up a platform to stir up racism and hate.
All right, I'll tell you what, Phil, let's try one more time, shall we? Because we're supposed to be having a civil conversation. Do you think there is a link between a lack of housing, huge waiting lists for social housing, unaffordable prices for many of the under 40s in huge parts of this country? Do you think there's a link between that and immigration?
There's a small link.
A small link. So okay. So the fact we have to build, and by the way, these figures are out of date, so it may be even more extreme. But the fact we have to build a new dwelling every 4 minutes in this country just to cope with current levels of immigration, do you not think that's a valid argument?
I think you don't want to listen to me because...
No, I'm listening very, very carefully, Phil. But what's interesting is that you're saying to me that making a link between immigration, housing, low wages, lack of access to a GP or whatever it may be, you're arguing to me, Phil, that anyone that makes these arguments is necessarily racist.
No, I'm not saying that. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying that because we have a housing crisis here, and we all know that the housing crisis is due to the lack of investment by this government.
No, Phil. No, Phil.
Nigel.
Phil, how can the government invest in social housing if it hasn't got a clue in a few years hence what the population is going to be? And that's the point about not having control.
So you're denying that your UKIP party didn't give a platform to stir up racism and hatred for our immigrants that we need in this country. And they're not. And the majority of them come out to this country. It's just, I'm Australian-born, and I'm fed up with Australia. They put them out on little islands. And I think that's probably what you'd like to do, put them out on an island and get rid of them.
Well, Phil, you can make all sorts of assumptions if you want to. Phil, I would just say this to you. Number one, just have a look at the kinds of people who have supported UKIP, stood for UKIP as candidates, knocked on doors. We have had a complete cross-section of Britain involved in the party. I would say that. And secondly, I would say that, Phil, I think you're wrong. We may have attracted some bad people, as every political party will. But I tell you what I did do, Phil. I did more than anybody in the history of this country to destroy the far right in Britain by taking the BNP head on and saying to their voters, if you're a National Socialist, you go on voting BNP. But if you're voting BNP and holding your nose doing it, come and vote for a party that wants to get control but does it on no basis of racial prejudice. And so, Phil, I think, I should perhaps get a little bit of credit for that. We go to a new caller, first-time caller, from Barrow-upon-Soar in Leicestershire, and it's Tiss. Hello, good evening.
Hi, Nigel. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to speak to you.
Not a bit. So what do you think about this report? I mean, does it show the right thinking? Does it go too far? What do you think?
I think, insofar as it concerns what the government's plan is, I think it shows that there is some degree of political will in the Home Office to try to implement what the British people quite clearly voted for. But for a bit of context, Nigel, I am an immigrant.
Yep.
I immigrated to this country from the Caribbean some 15 years ago.
Uh-huh.
And I absolutely believe in Brexit. I absolutely believe in the ability of a country to control its own borders.
Yep.
I absolutely believe that it just makes sense to do what is right by the people who elected you and put you into office. And I find it absolutely insane.
So, Tiss, tell me, help me. Why is it that I get people like the previous caller who seem to think that when I talk about a population rising by 500,000 a year, most of it stoked by, immigration or recent immigration, that somehow it's racist to say these things? Why do people think that?
I think people try to overcompensate by being exceptionally politically correct. But on the other hand, I think it's fundamental intellectual dishonesty when people look at the plain fact that the people that suffer the most are the poor or the working class people in this country by vast and uncontrolled migration from wherever it may be. And the consequence of that is we see that there's a direct correlation between the number of immigrants who come in and the fall in wages. And to have people like, for example, Labour politicians saying we want to keep the door open. There's so many people who are workers, who are labourers, who have traditionally supported the Labour Party. This is a massive betrayal of them, because what's really taking place is that this push of the Labour Party is driving down the living standards of these very people that that have always supported the Labour Party. I voted Labour before, and I never will again.
Tess, I think they may be in for a shock that their complete change of position from the leadership of the Labour Party to being for staying in the single market and the customs union, at least for the transitional period, and having open doors for that period, may well kick them hard in the ballot box next time round. Tess, thank you very much for your call. Moira says, and it's a very good point, should we not be concerned that a confidential report was leaked? To me, another attack to sabotage Brexit. Moira, I think you may well be on the right path. More of that in a moment. For now, you're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC, and it's 7:15.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast on LBC.
A new fleet of multi-million-pound warships is on its way under ambitious new national shipbuilding strategy. Here with more details is Defence Secretary Sir Michael Fallon. All be built with British steel, Sir Michael?
I hope there'll be as much British steel as possible.
Why would that be hoped,
Because some of these specialist steels involved actually made in Britain.
But what steel can't we manufacture?
Well, specialist steel that goes into parts of the hull. I note the Scottish Government had to import foreign steel to build the new Forth Bridge.
Nick Ferrari at breakfast.
With Hampton by Hilton. Book direct for the lowest price.
Every weekday morning from 7, only on LBC.
Summer is coming to an end. Never mind, you can look forward to enjoying more time in your brand new Mobalpa kitchen. Whether you're happiest entertaining friends or cooking up a warming treat for your family, Mobalpa has a contemporary kitchen design for you. Now with free expert fitting for a limited time only. Find your nearest Mobalpa kitchen studio at mobalpa.co.uk. Minimum spend and exclusions apply.
Jack here has got Kev on the phone. As a PlusNet customer, he has lots of friendly people that have his back. Say hi, Kev.
Hi, Kev. Hi?
He can call PlusNet any day of the week. They've already helped him pick a package, upgrade a package, check bills, move home, give him matrix, ordered SIMs, transferred numbers, added buttons, checked his connection speed. And Julie here even helped him settle on Mallorca for his next family holiday.
Don't forget the factor 30.
PlusNet has lots of friendly staff that just can't help but help. It's probably why they've bagged Uswitch as Best Provider for Customer Service Award. PlusNet will do you proud.
Moving house, nightmare. I need a plasterer, plumber, electrician, builder, painter, locksmith, gardener, and somebody to move my valuables, the drinks trolley. Relax, relax. It's Trust a Trader. They have all the tradespeople you can think of, reputable and reviewed, so you always get a job well done. Well done, me, I say, for getting it all sorted. I shall reward myself with a cheeky tipple from the trolley. Chin chin, pass me the gin. Visit trustatrader.com.
Trustatrader.com. Travel Pack. Have the right flight at the right price. In fact, we'll price match most worldwide flights if you find one cheaper elsewhere at the time of booking. So, if you need to book a flight, remember the Travel Pack price match. Call Travel Pack on 0208 903 9999. You won't find a better price for your flight. Travel Pack 0208 903 9999. ATOL protected. Excludes low-cost operators. Competitors must be ATOL licensed. Conditions apply.
Uh-oh, sounds like your car's over 8 years old. But don't scrap it, switch it. Introducing the Nissan Switch Scheme at Westway. Find out how through our Switch Scheme your 2009 or older car is worth up to £2,000 off a new Nissan. What's more, you can also get up to a £3,000 deposit contribution, lovely low monthly payments, and representative 3.99% APR finance across selected Nissans, subject to status. To find the perfect Switch package for you,
Google Westway Nissan today.
T's and C's apply. Switch available on selected models only.
New Scientist Live, an exciting festival of ideas and discovery, returns this September with headline speakers Heston Blumenthal and Chris Packham. Taking place at London's Excel, the festival will feature over 120 inspirational talks, as well as 5 immersive zones where you can sequence your own DNA and explore the galaxy. New Scientist Live, the 28th of September until the 1st of October. To buy tickets and to get more information, go to lbc.co.uk.
Leading Britain's conversation. The Nigel Farage Show. Tweet at LBC using the hashtag Farage on LBC.
So a leaked government report suggests that actually the government could, at some point in the future, get really tough about who can come to this country to work or even to settle, ultimately, from the European Union. Be met with fury and anger by the National Farmers Union and others, but support from Migration Watch and many, many Brexit-supporting politicians and people. Now, before the break, we speculated. Why was this leaked? Was it leaked by the civil service or somebody inside Number 10 to try and do down Brexit? Moira suggested that on Facebook. On Twitter, Rob says, this was a planned leak. They must think we're stupid. This was to keep Leavers happy. Just fake news. Wake up, UK. Well, I wonder whether there's a little bit of a clue in this from the response we've had from our mates in Brussels. Elmer Brock, one of the most senior MEPs in the Parliament, not happy with the deal, and suggestions coming out that Brussels would block a transition deal and impose real limits to single market access if Theresa May was to press ahead with this plan. And again, sourceless briefings, no one putting their name to it from the European Commission, but people suggesting that actually Switzerland faced the same choice. The European Union said, look, unless people can have free movement in and out of Switzerland, being part of a Schengen zone, you will suffer, and the Swiss gave in. So was this done? Was this done effectively to make sure that it can't be put forward by the government, otherwise it would ruin the transition plan they've got already? I don't know. It's all speculation. What I would say, at least someone somewhere inside the Home Office or Number 10 is at least thinking about the right ideas. Although I get on text, I'm confused. I thought the very point of voting out of the EU was to end free movement anyway. Yes, you're right. It's just that many of us are worried about whether we're going to get it. I wonder what Steve, another first-time caller from Welling in South London, thinks. Steve, good evening.
Good evening, Nigel. Good to speak to you.
Good. So was this leak, do you think, designed perhaps to damage Brexit or the opposite?
It was. I think it's been leaked to damage Brexit. It's either been leaked by a pro-Remain minister, or it's going to be leaked by the politicised civil service. Mm-hmm. So I think it's been leaked for that reason. There's been furore and uproar, as you say, but I think it's going to have the opposite effect.
Go on.
So it's going to have the opposite effect in as much as, yeah, this is what we wanted. This is what we want. The only thing that is going to force it down is the mainstream media. And we know how powerful the mainstream media is.
Yes, I mean, we're going to get, if Theresa May was questioned on this, and she said, well, look, it was only a policy proposal, but actually, yes, that is what I think needs to happen. Let's just say the Prime Minister did say that. Then, of course, you're right, she'd be attacked by large sections of the media, but she would also have Monsieur Barnier and all the others that have been lining up against us, Steve, over the course of the last week and more. She would have them saying, well, if you do this, there's going to be no trade deal. You see the problem, Steve?
Indeed, and I don't think she's strong enough to put up with it. I mean, a Prime Minister doing what the people want, heaven forfend.
I know.
Outrageous.
I know. So, Steve, were you a leaver?
Oh, absolutely, yes.
You were. And do you still feel as determined about getting back control of our borders as you did 48 months ago, or has your position softened a little?
More so.
More so. Right, OK. Steve from Welling, first-time caller. He knows what he wants. He wants what he voted for. Fantastic news, says Anne on Twitter. If the government has the guts to follow it through. We need the same approach for all, says Anne, talking about the fact we should treat people equally, regardless of what part of the world they come from. And I'm going next to Kennel. Is that the right pronunciation? Kennel from Harrow.
Hennel with a H.
Hennel, right, sorry. OK, Hennel, very welcome to the show.
Nice to speak to you, and I'm going to say Senor Farage.
Yeah, go on, OK. Right, I apologise for the mispronunciation. What is your view on this leak report?
OK, so, I mean, I was born here in the UK. I'm of Indian descent, but I own a cafe, and I've always tried to employ people from the UK, not just in my business, but also in previous businesses. But what I seem to find is that the people from the UK are lazy, and they just don't turn up for interviews.
Yeah.
They don't want to do it. They just don't want to work in the hospitality industry because they see it as demeaning. And it's only people from European origin that will happily work in that industry, which is not a bad industry, because I did my degree in hospitality, and I've worked my way up from a pot wash. As I said, being a UK resident and UK born.
Yep.
And I've worked my way up, and I've been a, hot wash, as I said. I've been a waiter. I've worked my way up to deputy manager, and I now finally own my own business.
Yep, good for you.
But what I seem to find, as I said, I've tried as hard as possible to try and get UK people, because I feel I'm a UK resident. Why shouldn't the UK people get the jobs first?
Yeah, I mean, I think there is a problem, although I get very upset when I hear political leaders from Tony Blair onwards sort of denouncing the entire British youth and saying they're all lazy and useless, therefore we have to have an open door. But yes, Hennel, I think there is a problem. There does appear to be a problem. I do wonder, though, before 2004, before we opened the door up to 8 and then 10 former communist countries, quite poor countries, the hospitality industry managed, the crops got picked in the fields. Do you think this sort of work-shy reluctance that you're talking about amongst some British youngsters, do you think this is a new thing, or has it always been there?
No, it's laziness. I've recently employed, or tried to employ, 2 16-year-old British people to try and give them their first job, and they've just said, oh, it's too much hard work, I'm going. And the next thing I do is I get somebody else who's 24 from Romania or Poland who will happily do that job.
And that's because their pound that they send back to Romania is actually worth a lot more money there than it is here, isn't it?
But then isn't it the fact that the people that are working here don't want to work because they don't want to work for that wage? And I don't pay a minimum wage. I pay a bit more than a minimum wage. And I really, honestly, I want British people. I'm so much to get British people to work in a British company, but they don't. They're too lazy because the benefit system is wrong. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't for a moment doubt that there is a problem. I think sometimes, and I'm not talking about your business, sometimes the very big businesses love to use it as an excuse because they want to keep wages down on the floor, and there's been plenty of that going on, but we do have a problem. The answer, of course, is, and maybe this government document gets us in the right direction, that if we genuinely have shortages, labour shortages in this country, then, of course, a flexible work permit scheme that allows somebody to come and work for up to 2 years, that can be extended or contracted. But, Hannah, I thank you for your point. Another new caller, businessman, making the point that in some parts of the country, getting youngsters to come and do jobs in hospitality is a problem, and I'm sure he's right about that. Sarah is calling from Hereford. Sarah, good evening.
Hello, good evening.
So, leaks and claims and counterclaims, do you think at least the government are beginning to think about the right ideas?
Well, first off, I do collectively think it is a leak. Absolutely. Yep. And I feel, considering the Labour's position and the U-turn that has happened, I feel this has been produced to calm down Leave voters for the Labour Party.
For the Labour Party? For
the Labour Party, because their key, Labour voters want end of free movement. They want immigration to be reduced. And there's uproar. Labour voters are absolutely disgusted in the Labour Party. It's treachery. It is spineless what they've done to their own voters. And I feel this is kind of going to smooth down the whole kind of fury slightly, because they can see, obviously, for the Conservative Party, it belongs to the government, the League. However, I wonder if anybody, the higher echelon, has gone, we might just leak that to the Guardian, and that might just soothe down some Labour voters.
Well, it might attract some Labour voters, perhaps, to switch sides, mightn't it? The estimate I saw, Sarah, was that about 3.5 million regular Labour voters voted for Brexit in the referendum. So I guess, you've got those 3.5 million, plus a few more that voted for them in the election this year, who perhaps had come back to them from having voted UKIP in the last election or two. So I guess from a Tory perspective, playing party politics, if there are millions of Labour voters who feel betrayed by Corbyn, they might perhaps support the Tories, do you think?
Absolutely, and I totally agree why that can happen.
Yeah.
But I think if we look collectively at the whole of the government, I do think they're spineless. They all need to get a backbone, step up to the plate and deliver, because, you know, leaks, etc., that's fine, but get on with the job. The British public will not stand to be messed around. You know, we're kind of, every week there's a new story. Somebody, a Lord said this, and, you know, Michel Barnier thinks he's going to educate.
Oh, I know, and threaten us and bully us.
I feel like I could educate him.
Sarah, thank you very much indeed for your call, Sarah, another first-time caller. Pamela says, we need to honour the rights of those already here, but monitor and control further immigration. Here, here. Ricky says, throwing the word racist around doesn't work anymore. Well, I had a bit of that with Phil, my first caller, this evening. Yeah, lots and lots of opinions, lots of speculation as to why this was leaked. Was it leaked to damage Brexit? Was it leaked to get Labour people upset with Corbyn's U-turn to support the Tories? I guess, as with all leaks, we'll probably never know the truth. You're listening to The Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 7:30 and time for the news with Anna Harding.
The strongest Atlantic storm ever measured has left flooding and damaged buildings in the Caribbean. A lack of communications and power means it's almost impossible to know just how badly hit some of the islands have been by Hurricane Irma. Civil servants are going to be asked if they want to strike over the 1% cap on public sector pay rises. Members of the PCS union will vote in the coming weeks. And Downing Street has approached some of Britain's biggest companies to ask them to give public support for the government's approach to Brexit. Executives have been asked to sign a joint letter declaring they wish to make a success of Brexit. LBC weather dry with clear spells for most places tonight. Increasingly cloudy in the far northwest by the morning with more rain moving in, an overnight low of 12 degrees.
LBC travel in London and the North Circular is closed northbound at the Barking flyover. That's because of an accident. And there are queues now northbound to the Beckton roundabout and southbound to Ilford Hill. In Essex on the M11 northbound, all traffic is being held temporarily. That's between junction 8 for Bishop Stortford and 9 for Saffron Walden. That's after a car overturned. To the tubes, and the Central Line has no service westbound between Woodford and Hainault. That's because of a signal failure. And to the trains, South Western Railway are delayed in and out of Waterloo, and that's because of a points failure. LBC Travel, I'm Anne-Marie Walsh.
This is LBC.
An amazing kitchen, an amazing bathroom, an amazing hallway. At Amazing Tiles, our range of porcelain, ceramic and bespoke tiles can make any home amazing. Right now, buy 5 metres or more of plain tiles and get a third off the retail price. Visit our showroom and warehouse at Park Royal Road, London, or call 0208 83 84 900. Make your home amazing at amazingtiles.com.
We've been thinking about pruning, not your peonies or your privet, but your cost of living. And how, from broadband to mobile phones, these days we're all looking for ways to trim our spending. And then we thought, couldn't we help you cut back on your biggest outgoing? And we thought, yes, we could. So we'll always try to help you remortgage to a better rate and save on your monthly repayments. Mortgages for how life is now. NatWest. We are what we do.
Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
There's no need to scream and shout. If there's a U-bend that needs straightening out...
There's a local hero for that. If your lights are leaving you in the dark, there's no need for a rude remark.
There's a local hero for that. Whether it's plumbing, heating, drains or electrics, we've got a local tradesman who can help. There's no call-out charge and all work comes with a 12-month British Gas guarantee. Book online now. There's a local hero for that. localheroes.com.
Do you feel as if you never get enough sleep? Hamsey's Sleep Centres have the answer. Buy a new mattress from our promotional range today and we'll give you up to £100 trade-in on your old one. And up to £200 off your new one, free local delivery, free mattress protector and a free pair of pillows. Plus a full 10-year guarantee. We'll even give you a 100-night sleep trial. Hamsey's, Beckenham, Bexley Heath, Leatherhead, New Malden and Wallington. And at hamseys.co.uk.
London. There's 8.5 million of us, all in a hurry to get somewhere. To work, school pick-up or a first date. Hey, who knows, this time it could be the one. So why can't we be more considerate of each other and help everyone get there on time? By keeping your cool with other road users, helping others off the train when they feel ill, and folding your buggy to let wheelchairs on the bus. Because we think you'll agree, London's better when we travel kind. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
Leading Britain's conversation. LBC, The Nigel Farage Show.
Someone somewhere in the Home Office or Number 10 had put forward a policy idea or two suggesting that we really did take back very tough control of our borders when it comes to EU migration. It's been leaked, published on The Guardian, met with a furious response from many in this country, such as the National Farmers Union, and, of course, many in the European Union, saying this could threaten to completely veto any Brexit deal of any kind. And Gary says to me on Facebook, "Good evening, Nigel. May look very nervous today at Prime Minister's questions. Bring on Jacob Rees-Mogg right away." Now, every day, with every subject, we get Facebook messages, we get texts, and we get tweets saying that Jacob Rees-Mogg is the man to sort everything out. And we had him on this show a few weeks ago, and I've always liked him very much, found him very entertaining, and was very happy to share platforms with him during the referendum campaign. But I have been saying privately to friends for a few weeks that I was concerned that his views on some social issues might begin to cause him a problem. So this morning, he was on Good Morning Britain, and he was being quizzed about his views on gay marriage and abortion. Have a listen.
I don't want to criticise people who lead lives that are different to mine, but equally, I don't want to divert from the historic teaching of the Catholic Church.
Okay.
So if I were to say to oppose, I would be inadvertently condemning
So what is your
people,
view, for example, what's your view of abortion?
I'm completely opposed to abortion. Life begins at the point of conception.
Why are you prepared to say you're opposed to abortion and not opposed to the same-sex marriage thing?
Because it's a completely different kettle of fish. That with
It's a Catholic teaching.
No, hold on. It's a different kettle of fish. That with same-sex marriage, that is something that people are doing for themselves. With abortion, it is something that is done to the unborn child.
Are you completely opposed to abortion in all circumstances?
Yes, I am.
Rape and incest?
Sexual violence?
I'm afraid so.
Really?
Life is sacrosanct and begins at the point of conception. And I think it is wrong.
So if a woman is raped, say you were Prime Minister, and a woman is raped by a family member, right? You would say she had absolutely no right to have that baby aborted?
No, she would have a right under UK law.
Yeah, but you wouldn't agree with that right?
But that law is not going to change.
No, but what's your personal opinion?
My personal opinion is that life begins at the point of conception and abortion is morally indefensible.
You would make her have that baby?
Well, I wouldn't, because that wouldn't be the law
of the land. I understand that.
So Jacob Rees-Mogg there, and, you know, he is a devout Roman Catholic. He believes in his views strongly on abortion, and I think that to date, Jacob has had quite a fun run around the media. He's been treated at worst as being an eccentric. I think some of the nastiest things ever said about him, perhaps, was that he was the honourable member of the 18th century. It's about as bad as it got. And I suspect now that he has got support, he's being touted as a potential future leader of the Conservative Party. He's second favourite with the bookmakers. I suspect now he's going to come under a lot of abuse and a lot of criticism and find life a lot tougher. I have to say my own view on it. I mean, I'm actually pro-choice, but I do think there's something perhaps wrong with the law that we have at the moment, in that we legally allow abortion up to 24 weeks, and yet we spend a lot of money in national health hospitals saving babies, successfully saving babies that are born at 22 weeks. So I do think the law needs to be looked at and needs to be updated. And it remains to be seen whether somebody with very strongly small c conservative views on gay marriage, religion, abortion, can continue to have a successful career in British politics. I'm sure on the back benches they can, but don't forget Tim Farron stood down as leader of the Liberal Democrats, citing, I mean, some would say it's because the election didn't go better, but he said no, he found his profoundly strong Christianity incompatible with leading a modern political party. I have to say, one thing I will say about Jacob Rees-Mogg is he could, of course, have fudged it. He could, of course, have given the answer that he knew people would want to hear. But, you know, he is true to himself. And that may well mean that people don't reject him. Going to be interesting. Back to the question, why was this report leaked? Was it an attempt to do down Brexit? Was it a clever way to try and get Labour supporters to come to the Tories? Was it actually never really a goer anyway and would have been watered down hugely? I wonder what John, a new caller from Glasgow, thinks. John, good evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to make a point in relation to a question you asked one of your earlier callers if you thought that immigration had an impact on social housing.
Well, I said an impact on housing, yes.
Well, it's an impact on housing, but I think that the current topical aspect has been social housing particularly. I'm a great advocate of Brexit, and I think we should be pursuing it in the strongest terms. I don't think it's right to use immigration as a tool to justify all contentious aspects of social subjects. I think one of the biggest impacts on and puts a demand on social housing is the difficulty for young people to get a mortgage. When I was a young guy in my 20s, I would get a 100% mortgage was normal.
Yes.
So young people today haven't got that luxury and have to live somewhere, so there's a far greater demand on social housing. So I think one of the biggest impacts it's putting the demand on housing and affordable housing, it's maybe a better way to put it, is the difficulty of getting an affordable mortgage, and they don't have to have a huge deposit to find. That is, to me, more relevant to the situation we find ourselves with housing. Immigration must have some impact on it, I don't deny, but I don't think it's the biggest having the biggest effect.
No, I mean, John, obviously, since all the things that happened in 2008, because it all started, didn't it, in America, with mortgage lending being too loose and bad debts building up. Yeah, you're right, getting a mortgage is much tougher, but equally, property prices are very much higher than they were. John, what I was doing was I was trying to say to that caller, Phil, that it is ridiculous to accuse people of racism just because they try and make links between a population that's going up, by 500,000 a year. Last year it went up by net migration running as high as 1/3 over the course of the last couple of years. Down a bit last year, but still big numbers. But John, look, I take your point. It is more difficult to get onto to get a mortgage. The social housing queues are growing. All I was saying was there is a link between a rapidly rising population in a demand-supply market. Do you, John? You said that you're a sort of devout Brexiteer. How do you think the government's proceeding with this so far?
I think, well, first of all, I think I'm really annoyed when I see people not getting behind the government. I think people are just trying to put stumbling blocks on their way just to justify their disapproval of Brexit in the first place. It's going to happen, so they should all get behind the government. I think the government should really push ahead strongly. I think it's only been shown as one-dimensional that if we have a hard Brexit, it's going to be detrimental to the British economy. It's going to be equally detrimental to the European economy.
Quite.
And I think if Britain walk away...
No, John, I agree. John, I agree with that completely. And this is where economic logic needs to kick in with these talks. Something I'm not sure that Monsieur Barnier and Monsieur Juncker are looking at. John, I thank you very much for your call. Waz says, as long as people coming into the UK can offer a skill or trade, then fair enough. Well, kind of. That's what this document was talking about. The people should have trades or skills. But Waz, I want to add 2 points to your comment. One, surely we should actually be looking at people's skills and ability, not on geography, and not saying, you're from Bulgaria, you must have a much better chance of coming to the UK than India or Australia. That's the first point. And the second point is, we do have shortages. We have shortages of nurses. We have shortages of engineers. And can we please start genuinely training some more people? And I think Brexit actually offers a bit of an opportunity to have that conversation as well. What does Sarah in Stratford think? Do you believe this leak report, or was it never going to happen anyway?
Well, I don't know, but what made me call up was that I had this narrative about English people being lazy and they don't want to work. And my background is, I was born in London. I have an Asian father, English mother, and I'm very aware that my Asian side will all want to be accountants and doctors and very professional.
Yeah.
But my concern is I don't like the idea that English people are lazy, because they're not. Absolutely 100% not. And what I think is that it's not about laziness, it's about how much are you prepared to sell your labour for. And if you're English and you need to have a house and bring up a family and socialise, you probably need a little bit more money. Whereas my Asian family, they all lived in like one house and they didn't care whether they went out to socialise, didn't need as much money to live. And I think that narrative gets lost. And as far as, they don't want to work in coffee shops. I know lots of people. I used to teach English, and they were so happy to work in coffee shops. They came from abroad because it gave them the opportunity to practice their English skills. So they were motivated. So we kind of lose the detail of why English people are not as motivated. They're certainly not lazy. But maybe their motivation isn't fired up. If you were coming from Poland or from Eastern Europe, when you go to another country, you feel a different kind of energy. And I really want people to realise that English people are not lazy.
Well, Sarah, you're a first-time caller. You obviously felt very strongly about that and picked up the phone, and I agree with you. I think we have. I'm sure there are cases, of course, where people are. But it was Blair, Sarah, that started this narrative. It was Blair that started saying, our young people won't accept these jobs and won't do these jobs. And he did it as an excuse and as a cover for the fact that his promise that opening up the door to former communist countries would lead to a 13,000 a year increase was wrong by many, many fold. Thank you. And breaking news, a draft UN resolution suggests the US will seek an oil embargo on North Korea and an asset freeze on its leader, Kim Jong-un. Well, it's a resolution. It's been put forward. How are Russia and China going to react to that proposal? You're listening to the Nigel Farage Show, exclusively on LBC. It's 7:45.
Coming up at 8 on LBC, Clive Bull.
Firms are complaining that the leaked proposals to curb immigration will have a catastrophic impact. Do you think these plans would be bad for business? And does that mean they'd be bad for Britain?
Clive Bull on LBC.
You've been waiting for the perfect opportunity, anticipating an intelligent time to make an intelligent change. Well, with Nissan, the UK's leader in electric vehicles, trade in your car from 2009 or earlier, and we'll give you up to £2,000 towards a used 100% electric Nissan Leaf when bought on finance. The Switch scheme from Nissan. For this and other Switch offers on selected new vehicles, search Nissan Switch. EV leaders based on UK sales volumes from January to August 31st, 17. Offers available to private retail customers, participating dealers only, trading in vehicles registered before December 31st, 09. Up to £2,000 total finance deposit contribution on used Leaf includes existing £1,000 contribution offer. Provided by Nissan Finance. Representative 3.9% APR subject to status. Over 18s. T&Cs and eligible models at nissan.co.uk.
If you're not sure you've ever had PPI, you should check right now. PPI Claimback are the experts who've won over 385 million in missold PPI. Many of our successful customers didn't even know they had it. We aim to make the process simple and hassle-free. You don't need the paperwork, and we'll do most of the hard work for you. Just text PPI to 81025. Find out once and for all.
Text PPI to 81025.
So, I got home from school on Friday and Mummy said we were getting a panda. And I was happy because I like pandas. They're bigger than kittens and very, very fluffy. Mummy and Daddy said pandas are practical and great value for money. It will have to live in the garage, but that's okay because we don't have a car right now. So there's space.
Be quick! The Fiat Panda Pop available for a limited time from £6,995, saving £2,410 on the list price. T's and C's apply at participating dealers ordered and registered by 30th September 2017.
Sit back and dream of your perfect cruise. Does it have a sensational spa with sea views? Or fine dining for two? Dream no more. Sail away on our newest ship, TUI Explorer, and get drinks, dining and tips on us, plus £100 off per booking. Book with the specialists in your local Thompson store. Perfect. Thompson Cruises. Discover your smile. T's and C's apply. £100 offer must be selected at time of booking. New bookings only and valid on all ships sailing winter 17 and summer 18. Until protected.
There's no need to scream and shout. If there's a U-bend that needs straightening out,
There's a local hero for that. If your lights are leaving you in the dark, there's no need for a rude remark.
There's a local hero for that. Whether it's plumbing, heating, drains or electrics, we've got a local tradesman who can help. There's no call-out charge and all work comes with a 12-month British Gas guarantee. Book online now. There's a local hero for that. Localheroes.com.
It's an intelligent time to switch to a more intelligent car. Ask about the Nissan Switch scheme at Ancaster Nissan in London and the home counties. Search Ancaster Nissan online.
The Nigel Farage Show. Text 84850.
Now, whilst we earnestly debate whether the government was ever really serious about this proposed paper that said they were really going to get tough on the number of people coming to Britain from the European Union, something that really caught my eye today and is my quote of the day. I love it. Sir Michael Caine, 84 years old, was at the Cannes Film Festival and was asked how he thought Brexit was going, and he said, "Up until I was 20, I thought Luxembourg was a radio station. I didn't even know it was a country. And now he's running my country and doesn't seem to like us." A reference, of course, to Jean-Claude Juncker. So well done, Michael Caine, for making me laugh. I think I made a similar comment once about a guy called Herman van Rompuy and the fact that he came from Belgium. I got into terrible trouble. I think with Michael Caine, we'll just smile. A bit of response coming in on Jacob Rees-Mogg, not surprisingly. Eamon says, well, Sadiq Khan's religious beliefs didn't stop him from becoming Mayor of London, and also didn't see the media kicking up a stink about his beliefs either. Karen says, JRM is entitled to his views. I don't agree, but how refreshing a politician answers honestly. And Nigel, I agree with you on the abortion time limit. Ricky says, good on Mogg for saying what he thinks. Right or wrong, with Mogg, you get what you see. Interesting. I'm sure quite a few people will agree with that. Others, Ricky, will say he's out of touch with modern Britain. It'll be very interesting to see how this develops. But back to, is someone, somewhere, inside number 10 of the Home Office, giving us the hope that perhaps this government is trying to honour the Brexit vote? James from Liverpool, what do you think?
Well, I wanted to say that here in Liverpool, where I am, there are legions of people, legions of them on welfare, and I was one of them. And it was only thanks to a scheme, a training scheme through the job centre, that I managed to get back into work. And I think that is what we need to focus on, because the politicians and all these other people are using immigration, really, in a way, as the easy option for not dealing with the problem of all these people being on various forms of welfare. And let's be honest, we all know that half the people that are on disability and all these different things, they are capable of some form of work. It's just a case of retraining them, and it's a case of getting that work. But no politician wants to grab hold of that.
It's interesting, James. I mean, the point you make, because I had a cafe owner on earlier. I don't know whether you heard him, from Harrow in northeast London, a guy called Hennell, and he was saying that he found that when he had young English people coming in and applying for jobs, they appeared a bit work shy. They appeared a bit lazy. Do you think that welfare is playing a role in that?
Well, obviously, he said that. He said that, though. He actually said that. I heard what he said. He actually said because it's too easy. People have got it too easy.
But I'm asking you, James, as somebody who said they were on welfare. You know, I mean, I mean, what needs to happen? I mean, James, you've been there. You're out of it, and you sound very happy that you are. What needs to happen? Do we need to cut welfare? Do we need to try and incentivise people with training schemes? What needs to happen?
Well, exactly what you just said there. We need to incentivise people.
Yep.
We need to cut welfare. It's far too easy in this country for people to come in, whether they're immigrants, whether they're native people, to get on all these different forms of welfare. And people like Corbyn will make it even worse.
Yeah.
If he gets in, it'll be a total nightmare. It's a system that can't keep on paying out. We can't keep on paying out. And it's the easy option, I think, when you're dragging all these people in from abroad. And half of them, I mean, I wouldn't mind if all of them were like the point that you made, where they should be on work visas and things like that.
Yeah.
But a lot of the people in Liverpool, you look at them and you think, well, these are no better than the ones we've got.
James, I think, speaking as honestly as you have about this subject, I suspect is a view that is going to touch and strike a lot of chords out there with the people listening to this this evening and out there in the broader country. Politicians, people in Parliament, are terrified of a headline that says, you know, X or Y thinks that people on welfare are all useless, lazy scroungers, and they dare not say it. They dare not directly link welfare to this problem. And I think you've raised a very important and a very valuable point, and it's something, James, we need to get to the bottom of. And good luck to you, and thank you for the call. Now, I wonder what Paul in Bromley makes of this. And Paul, yet another first-time caller. Welcome to the show, Paul. EU migrants, have they been good for Britain so far?
Oh, yes. Thank you for having me. I think, yes, they have, actually. And it's so sad and quite frustrating to actually not actually being grateful for the work they've been doing in this country. These people coming here, they're actually taking jobs that we don't want to have, and they're growing our economy. That's the fact. I mean, you know, I think the way we listening to the radio, and some people think it's very, very financial literacy to actually saying that many people coming, that's bad for the economy. That's more car to be bought, that's more house to be bought, that's more services. And the government has to take their responsibility. If they're having people coming into the country, they have to make sure the service is there for them. Not accusing those people, paying taxes every single month, working hard with their family. I mean, where is the rationale behind it? That's my point.
Well, Paul, you make the point. You make the point about migrants growing the economy. Well, migrants and an increased population certainly puts up our gross domestic product, but I don't see any evidence that it's put up our gross domestic product per capita. So, you know, I think on the economics of it, you know, reports saying very different things, but it strikes me the House of Lords probably got it right. When it said on the economics it was a score draw, but there were big social concerns with our population going up as quickly as it has. We'll have to see. Paul from the Wirral says to me, Nigel, I believe the net economic benefit of low-skilled immigration is marginal due to them being eligible for tax credits. Well, of course, you know, that is the other point, Paul, isn't it? That there are a range of in-work benefits that people on low incomes get as well. It's difficult. Some think the government is on the right tracks. Yes, they're going the right way if they actually stick to it and don't fold under pressure, I get on Twitter. Well, I don't know about folding under pressure. You know, this document had never actually made it any further than being somewhere in a back office, but it was being talked about. Dermot, my last call of the evening. Dermot from West Hampstead, hello.
Hi Nigel, how are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I'm sort of slightly encouraged that at least the government are talking about this.
Well, listen, I've slightly got to divert you because, you know, you're talking about all these people coming in doing the picking the cabbages and carrots and all the rest of it. And they're not going to be coming in anymore. I think what we're going to have, what we're resulting in, we're going to have the most educated carrot pickers and cabbage pickers in Europe.
What, because they'll all have degrees, you mean?
Exactly.
Right. I'll tell you what, Dermot, that point, as a final call, is very entertaining, and I thank you. And my final thought on all of this is I can scarcely believe that we're even having this debate, that this document actually existed, because for years I've argued that we should have an honest, open debate and discuss proposals as to what to do with our borders in the future. And we haven't done it. Why? We haven't had the ability to do it. Because we've had an open door and because we've been weak, even with the bit that we did have control over, but we never could have a proper, sensible debate. And what Brexit does, folks, it brings back democracy. It brings back debate. Whether this report was ever going to be enacted or not, we now think that someone in the government was seriously considering it. And that, I think, is great news. I couldn't be happier. You've been listening to The Nigel Farage Show here on LBC. I'm back tomorrow evening from 7. I'll also be here on Sunday, of course, at 10 a.m. with the new show. Coming up at 10.